You're listening to The Watchers, a show where two women from opposite ends of New Jersey watch TV about how it's actually Goosey Night, but I will let it go this time.
I cannot stress enough, Jody. There are 12 people in the state of New Jersey who call it
very much not true.
Who call it Goosey Night.
It's the border between Bergen and Passaic County and like one other town, but it is more than 12 people because Bergen County is the most populous county in New Jersey.
Like, that's a lot of people complaining that they don't call it Mischief Night. We have to really get into that though, because there's a lot happening there with the Devil's Night stuff. But we did watch Pete and Pete.
Yes. Yes, we watched Pete and Pete. We watched Halloweenie.
And you are?
I'm Jody. Thank you.
And me?
And you're Andrea.
Oh, me? I'm Andrea.
Yeah. Yes.
And it is 8:30 at night.
I was just going to say, we need to make it clear that this is maybe going to be one of the more ADHD than it usually is.
I felt we both kind of came to this one with a specific kind of energy.
Yeah.
So I just want to prepare our lovely listeners.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to our listeners who checked out the bonus episode we dropped on Monday.
Yeah.
It was lovely getting to talk to Tommy.
We had so much fun.
He's great. And yeah, I hope folks like that episode.
Yeah.
And more importantly, that they like the documentary when they stream it next week.
Yeah, they will. But yeah, as someone not in like entertainment, the idea of getting a screener for something was really exciting to me. I felt extremely cool.
That was one of my favorite things about making the music podcast I made was getting albums early. And that was big for me. That made me feel really like in on something, you know?
Totally.
But yeah, so that was fun. And I didn't get to ask him when we recorded. I wanted to ask him. We'll have to find an excuse to have him back when this comes out, but I know he's working on an Andy Kaufman documentary, which is huge for me.
Yeah. I was distracted by trying to find evidence for Goosey Night being bigger than you have expressed it to be. It is more prevalent in Western Bergen County and Passaic County. Yeah, 2009, Dialectic Boundaries of New Jersey, or in New Jersey.
Ooh. Hey, Jody.
Yeah?
Why did you send this to me? Did you think this was going to help your case?
It's a very populated part of New Jersey. It's like one of the most densely populated parts of New Jersey right there.
Okay, listeners.
That's a lot of people.
Listeners. This map is covered in little dots for Mischief Night, which is what I call it. And then many less dots for Cabbage Night because nobody calls it that. And then I will say more than
Cabbage Night.
But again, nobody calls it Cabbage Night. So it's not saying a whole lot.
That's a very populated part of the state.
It's also not where the kids from Pete and Pete live. That would be like...
I know.
Okay.
I am aware of that fact. That it would have been very strange if they had called it Goosey Night. But.
Right. It's genuinely, I think it's cool that they even mention Devil's Night, even though it doesn't really work the way that, but just the Jersey of it all makes me very happy either way.
Yeah. Our first call to our listeners is please tell us, where you grew up, if you had something called Goosey Night, Devil's Night, Mischief Night, Cabbage Night, whatever. And if you did, what did you call it?
Right. Perfect.
And did you participate?
Right. Did you participate?
Only like once. Same. Usually I was parked in the vestibule of my house with eggs, like waiting to defend my property from the older kids.
That's very fun.
Yeah. But no, I only went out one year. I think it was my 8th grade year because we were finally old enough. There's a fun photo of like everyone covered in shaving cream, all like standing together in the street.
No.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah. Although I have sensory issues, so I was not covered in shaving cream. I couldn't do it. It made me uncomfortable. So just to kind of go back to this whole Pete and Pete thing, the reason that we're here tonight. So again, just as a reminder, we watched not the pilot, but we watched 2 of the more important episodes of Pete and Pete already.
Yeah, we watched one of the ones that we watched was from technically before the show. It's sort of the first episode, depending on how you count the show. So we kind of watched the pilot and then also the maybe greatest episode of television ever.
The summer vacation one.
Hard Days
Or
Pete, the music
Hard Days
one.
Pete. Okay, the summer vacation one was the pre-pilot one. Yeah.
And we watched the pre-pilot one because of, specifically, mostly because of I Saw the TV Glow and that direct tie-in.
Right.
And then we watched Hard Days Pete because it's, again, maybe the best episode of television ever.
Yeah, and I needed to be aware of the concept of fighting the ocean. I mean, I can't believe I've lived my whole life without understanding that that's what you're supposed to do at the end of the summer. It's really hard to believe.
Yeah.
Especially as a Jersey kid.
Exactly.
That spent all that time at the shore.
I like that that's going to live with you probably forever.
Oh, forever.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah, because I still live near the ocean, just in a different place.
You can fight the ocean where you live.
Yeah, I totally can. It's a little bit more rocky than sandy, and it might hurt, but I can still do it. I very much felt like it at the end of this summer. I felt like the summer was not long enough.
Uh-huh.
But we watched Halloweenie. I will admit that I expected there to be a dog.
Oh, like Frankenweenie?
Like a weenie dog.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But
I don't know why.
Like big nerd.
Yeah. I don't know why I had that assumption. There was a dog, but not a wiener dog.
Yeah.
But this was so fun.
I'm so glad.
It was so fun. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Oh, yay.
I watched it, and then I watched pieces of it again, and then I watched the commentary because the DVD commentary is somebody posted it to YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out to me. I did not know, so I got to watch that.
It was delightful.
Today. It's so like, it's just really heartwarming to hear how much love those, because it was the two show creators and then both Pete's, and they all clearly still have so much love for that show, which is not common for kids TV.
Right?
Like, even the ones who didn't have truly traumatic experiences aren't often really excited to, like, revisit and kind of, Yeah.
No, these guys clearly, have a soft spot for this experience and how weird it was. Mm-hmm. Should we do, like, a quick plot recap?
I think so.
Yeah. It's such a... As I was watching it, I was like, oh, classic idea. Oh, look, a classic idea of, like, coming of age. Look, it's a coming of age idea.
It is perfect, like, all things that make Pete and Pete so good and special episode. And then also a, like, let's just do a classic Halloween special. Like, it's all of that in 24 minutes. I think it's really special.
Yeah. No, I agree. Do you want to try to do the plot recap since even though I watched it more than once, you're more familiar?
Yeah, we can kind of...
We'll talk through it.
Yeah. So first thing is, it aired October 9th, 1994. I would have been 8 years old.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I would have been about to turn 18.
Well, and so obviously you were... At the time, it wouldn't have resonated with you.
Not at all.
And this episode is everything. I say that about so many things. But anyway, so 1994.
Yeah.
It's Halloween. Big Pete is doing one of his famous monologues.
Mm-hmm.
It is like many other Pete and Pete episodes about, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Little Pete still thinks Halloween is the best. I still think Halloween is the best, and I'm almost 39 years old.
Big Pete is definitely wrong in this beginning.
It's so funny because I think it's so obvious. So he is giving this speech about, like, how Little Pete still loves Halloween, but Big Pete thinks it's a Halloween for nerds, basically, and he hates it. But to me, it's so clear that he doesn't really he's just reached a point in his life where he thinks he's too old for Halloween.
Yeah, he thinks he's not allowed to like Halloween anymore.
And so he is, I think, going a little too hard on that. But I think that is really relatable.
Totally. I mean, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, but I think the last time I went trick-or-treating was definitely before 8th grade. Like, I did go out on Goosey Night in 8th grade, but I don't think I trick-or-treated. I think
I said too, I went out on 8th grade, but we brought my baby cousin with us.
Right.
And so we had an excuse. So that was definitely the last time I went trick-or-treating. That wasn't until my friends started to have kids of their own and we would go around with those. But then I wouldn't be trick-or-treating.
Right. Yeah. So It is. It's that, that 4 years between them is a huge gulf at this age, Like, I didn't have siblings living in my house growing up, but my closest cousin was 4 years older than me. And for most of my childhood and early teen years, she seemed like she was an adult.
Exactly.
And I was a very small child.
Yeah,
so,
it's a huge window.
Yeah.
But
we meet Crossing Guard Frank here.
Because he's telling them. So there are kind of like two things happening in this episode. One is that there is a record. Little Pete, the Wrigley Boys, and I don't know if this is like something that feels especially 90s to me for some reason, or why this feels especially 90s to me. But there are a few episodes, like, they're kind of obsessed with breaking records.
The hold that the Guinness Book of World Records had on people in the 90s was huge.
Right.
I don't know if that's a Jersey thing or not, but everyone I knew about it and was like,
it's definitely a 90s thing, at least, right?
Yes. Yeah. The Guinness Book of World Records was kind of a big deal.
Okay. That felt right to me, but I wasn't sure if the way I just am always trying to assign meaning to things.
Yeah.
And so this is one of those episodes where there was a record set by a couple of kids years before that the Wrigley Boys have been trying to break. And this is the year Little Pete really wants to make it happen.
Most number of houses, right?
It's like just under 400, yeah. It's like 394 houses, I think, or 74 houses. I think 94. And then the other thing that's happening is the pumpkin eaters.
Yes. The pumpkin eaters are the threat to Halloween even continuing to exist in Wellsville?
Wellsville, yep.
Wellsville, yeah.
I called it Wrigleyville last week because of the
last name.
The Wrigleys, yeah. But yeah.
But yeah, so they're going to have to stop celebrating Halloween because the pumpkin eaters are just wreaking havoc all over the town.
Right. And so this is the first thing this is when the crossing guard calls it, he says 24 hours. He says like tonight's Devil's Night.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I love that there's like a reference to Devil's Night in the episode because it's funny because it's like, him calling it Devil's Night because it's 24 hours to the big show, whatever, but also for Jersey viewers, like that's a very real thing.
It's so real that like it really brought me back, like seeing all the toilet paper on the trees and everything being shaving creamed and them walking around with like 2 cans of shaving cream, one in each hand.
Exactly.
And it was just like, and the eggs being thrown, like, that's how it was. Like, I don't know if it still is, but that is how it was. It was that chaotic. Like, it wasn't, the whole town wasn't covered like that, but there would be pockets.
For sure.
Where those kids lived, where they would just go nuts.
Yeah,
so.
And I don't think it's much of a thing anymore, which I guess is good. I don't know.
Is it?
It's like, I love that we had like it's like Kids Bop the Purge, like,
oh God.
But so those two things are happening. Big Pete listens to the dark urges in his brain and smashes a pumpkin.
I wrote down, smashing stuff is really fun.
It is.
It's really fun.
Yeah. Like, I've never smashed a pumpkin, but like,
I don't know if I have, but smashing stuff is just fun.
Yeah. And it feels good. And you should be allowed. And I understand why symbolically to Little Pete it means something different. But the pumpkin eaters see this.
I would love to know how much money they spent on pumpkins.
They smashed so many pumpkins.
Because pumpkins aren't cheap.
They're definitely not now.
No. But they did film this. I didn't know if they filmed it during the fall, actually, but they did. They said in the commentary they filmed it in October.
And it looks like...
It does, but like they could fake that.
Right, but it's
movie
really
magic,
nice.
Andrea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it does feel like Jersey Fall in the episode.
Yeah. We get our first Iggy Pop cameo.
Yeah, this is the first episode he shows up in too.
Yeah. Full of references to his own songs and albums in his dialogue.
It's really good.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
it's like,
the commentary is really fun because they said like we weren't sure if we were going to get him back, so we just crammed it full of references.
Yeah, they talked about how it was just fun to see Iggy Pop in like khaki pants and like a sweater vest
and a cardigan. It really is.
Yeah, cardigan. It's
so good.
Yep.
And again, not like that didn't mean anything to me as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just known as dad. I didn't care.
Yeah,
but
no, I wouldn't have known.
But I love it now. That's just for the grown-ups.
Yeah. But Iggy Pop decides that Nona can't go out for Halloween and therefore can't help little Pete with his quest, to break his record.
That's right. And it's a 2-person job.
Yes, it is definitely a 2-person job. And so Big Pete, against his better judgment, Big Pete decides to help his little brother. And is that girl his girlfriend or friend that's like, don't do it?
His best friend.
Okay, because his best friend is like, you can't do this. This is like, you know, social suicide.
Yeah.
You don't want to end up like Ned. What's his last name? I wrote it down, I think. Ned Richmond. Yeah.
Yeah, because no one will get near him. Even in the yearbook, it's his picture's
just
the only
his own
one on
picture.
his page. It's really funny.
Yeah.
But they go as astronauts so that Big Pete can hide his face.
And so they can talk to each other on those little radios. Key plot device.
Right, and so that little Pete can pee in his spacesuit.
Yes, of course.
That was a really fun
anecdote
in the commentary.
Yeah, they said that the standards and practices let them keep that in, but they wouldn't let the sound be a part of it, of him peeing.
How fun to have to like talk that out. The negotiation for that. So silly.
But all hell does break loose.
They're like getting by pretty well. I think Pete says they hit like 115 houses or something like that. And then
then the pumpkin eaters come. Very it felt a little bit like I want my $2 on his bike.
Yeah.
And Better Off Dead.
And a little bit like the Warriors.
Yes. Absolutely.
Just like kid menaces on bikes is such a thing.
Oh my God. I know. And so toilet paper is everywhere. Shaving cream is everywhere. Eggs are everywhere. There's a guy like army crawling across the street in like a ghost outfit. But little Pete doesn't want to give up. They keep going. But what I loved here was like, so the townspeople in their homes all shut down because they're like, uh-oh, here we go. You know, turn all the lights off. But they still try to figure out a way to get the candy. So there's the one where it comes out the gutter. I may have said this before. I apologize if I did. I had an art teacher through all of elementary school. So 1st through 8th grade, Mr. Fuchs, who lived around the corner from me. And every year on Halloween, he would put a sign in his door because it was all 2-family houses. We all lived in apartments. It was like 1st floor, 2nd floor. He was on the 2nd floor. So was I. His house was like identical to mine. But he put a sign on his front door that said, ring the doorbell and look up. And so you'd ring the doorbell and you'd open the 2nd floor window and chuck the candy at you. And it was just so delightful every year.
That's
just
so
like an
fun.
alternate candy delivery method because he didn't want to walk down the stairs 17 times.
Yeah, that's fair.
It just reminded me of that so much.
That's making me think of Halloween during lockdown where people were figuring out the different like tubes and stuff to send candy down, which is sadder, but more, nice that we figured that out for kids. I mean, I don't get trick-or-treaters in my neighborhood.
Shout out to Mr. Fuchs, who just wished me a happy birthday on my Facebook wall like a few days ago.
That's so nice. He remembered.
He was, you remembered, my mother didn't. He was one of those people that when they joined Facebook, immediately 5,000 people found him. Like, he taught in the school system in my tiny town for 30 or 40 years. And as soon as he got on Facebook, like, it was like just dominoes. Like, a couple people found him, and then suddenly everyone was like, oh my God, Mr. Fuchs, oh my God. Like, most beloved teacher ever.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Very creative for Halloween as well.
Yeah, that's really fun.
I also liked the idea of candy corn as an energy supplement. Where do you stand on candy corn?
I don't like it, but I will eat a pound of it if it's in front of me.
Okay.
I can't even say that I don't like it. I'm going to answer that again. I'm really perplexed by candy corn. I don't know if I like it or not. I never seek it out. If it's in front of me, I will eat it in a confused way. What's your
I I never buy it, but if it's in front of me, I will eat it until I am embarrassed about how much I'm eating, and I will walk away.
But do you like it?
I think I do.
Okay.
I think I actually do, but I think it's one of those things that it makes me feel sick after I eat too much of it, and I have very little self-control, and so I can't actually buy it for myself. If I see it somewhere else, I will eat it.
That makes sense. I think I feel about it the way I feel about Netflix The Watcher. I don't know if it's good or bad, but if you put it in front of me, I will consume it.
Wow, what a throwback. Okay, so all hell is broken loose. The pumpkin eaters are running around on their bikes. And Big Pete can't take it anymore. He gives up. Well, he abandons his little brother.
Specifically because Ned recognizes him.
Right.
And says, maybe
they end up
you
at
can go
Ned Richmond's house
with me next year.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, Ned's a weenie and everybody thinks he's like a social pariah, but he's still getting dressed up.
He's still dressing up. Yep.
I'm kind of like, good for Ned.
Yeah. I will say, if this was happening in my small town, everyone would have known which house was Ned Richmond's. And he would never have shown up there with his face uncovered.
100%.
Yeah. Everybody knew where everyone else lived.
Totally.
But yeah, he decides he can't do it. He can't risk. The pumpkin eaters are out there. Mm-hmm. He can't be found out. Mm-hmm. Poor little Pete is left alone with his giant bag of candy.
The shot of him dragging both bags of candy really breaks my heart.
Yeah.
He's so determined.
I know. I noted that everything is like shot at a low angle here. It makes the town and how dark it is and how big all the trees are feel very much like where I grew up. Just like a very specific like feeling of being a little kid out at night when you're like kind of not supposed to be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally get that.
But Big Pete goes to hide in the haunted house.
I fucking love this haunted house.
It's a really great haunted house.
It's so good. And I know it's like, wow, it looks so 90s because that's when it was shot, but it's
so elaborate though, because it's just a house, with creepy shit in it. It's not like,
but it's all stuff that it's like it so very much feels like the person in the neighborhood who loves Halloween so much. Like you could do this in your house. It's like it's great. We just released an episode of Beautiful Anonymous.
I was going to bring that up
before, of the like guy in the neighborhood with the Halloween house who's like, he was just like decorating his lawn for Halloween for kind of his own amusement, and he got so carried away with it that it's like became a local attraction, and that's what this house feels like. Yeah.
These people have also gone to frightprops.com if the internet was a thing back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's fun. They do the like classic kind of scare where you think it's one of the pumpkin eaters because they've been, like you said, tailing Big Pete, but it's just like a dummy in there in a pumpkin helmet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But one of them ends up being one of the pumpkin eaters. Mm-hmm. But then because they're wearing those headsets, little Pete ends up hearing when Big Pete gets accosted and has to choose between his brother and the quest.
Yeah. His brother who abandoned him in the first place.
Exactly.
And he smashed a pumpkin, which little Pete didn't know.
I know.
At first. And that's hugely symbolic.
Yeah. I wrote, put on the pumpkin, Pete. I'm rooting for the pumpkin eaters. But so little Pete, the crossing guard is coming, and little Pete decides that he's gonna team up with him and go save his big brother instead of trying to finish his quest.
It's very sweet.
Yeah.
And misguided, if you ask me.
Yeah. Go get the candy. Your brother, it's his own fault.
Yeah.
But the crossing guard saves the day. And it's revealed that Endless Mike is the main pumpkin eater, who is someone I'm sure I would know had I watched the rest of this.
Yep.
One of their villains.
There's a few of them. He's one of them.
And they open the basement, those like big basement doors, whatever they're called, the like hatch
Storm doors.
Storm doors. I don't know. We had those in my house too.
Oh, spooky. We did not.
Yeah, that's how we got from the outside to the basement. Though it's one thing I did notice. So the crossing guard like has the wire cutters and like opens the locked basement doors, and then fully disappears.
Oh, Yeah.
He just is gone. Like, Little Pete has to headbutt Endless Mike and then almost knock himself out before Big Pete wakes up and attacks him. And the actual quote-unquote, like, adult is nowhere to be found.
Maybe he's like, Little Pete, this is something you have to do for yourself.
He just kind of pieced out.
Because it's something that in the commentary they say that one of the things they really like to do is send Little Pete and the like younger members of this cast on different quests.
Yeah.
And this is another one of those episodes. So like, you know, Joseph Campbell, you get your like old mentor, but he can't come with you for the last.
He could at least be standing outside.
That's true. But he
to
does
like take care of the removal of the pumpkin eaters. We assume that that's what happened because they did all get caught somehow. Little Deus Ex Machina there, but they all get caught and they're all cleaning off people's houses the next day, including good old Iggy Pop.
That's right. When you missed a spot.
Yeah.
Stooge.
Yeah. Gotta call him a stooge.
It's really good.
Yeah. It's really good. It's like it packs a lot into those 24 minutes. You know, lots of classic Halloween tropes of like, you know, getting too old to trick or treat, and also like, you know, the magic and the scariness of those nights where like all the big kids are out and like, you know, and how the adults always want to ruin everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just feels so good to me. I know I'm a sucker for it, but I think it's
yeah, but like there's other things that you have made me watch that mean a lot to you that I was like, yeah, okay.
Right.
You know, I can see it, but I'm not, you know, I missed my chance to enjoy it. That's not how this works. Like this you can enjoy as a full adult without having seen it.
Adult 30 years later too.
Yeah.
Like I think Pete and Pete really, it holds up, I think, because it's so specific and so like,
yeah. I mean, I'm also obviously inclined to love it because of the Jersey piece, but like, it's just really weird and smart and surreal and like very precise about the feeling of growing up at that specific time.
Totally.
I love that in the commentary they mentioned that they filmed a lot of this in South Orange, and they said everyone hated them because they shot at like 1 a.m. and were like shining lights in people's houses.
Exactly.
They referred to the main pumpkin eater as Dark Tasty, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, they love to put a big old mask on somebody's head. Yeah.
Well, the very first thing I actually wrote in my notes before anything else was this is already feeling very I Saw the TV Glow because of the obsession with the moon and space and those sort of like cheesy looking props that, you know, have that very 90s look to them. It just immediately, the visuals, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, like cheesy, but there's still some, I mean, obviously I still find something really aesthetically pleasing about them, but
yeah. Well, they're charming.
Yeah.
To me.
Charming is a great word for it. I think so too.
Yeah. Also, like they talked about the idea of equating puberty with evil. Like the growing up making you turn like less pure and more evil.
Yeah, and it happens, I mean, over and over again in this show. It feels to me like if you are a kid battling a bunch of bullies, a good person to have with you would be the strongest man in the world.
Definitely. Where is he?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, maybe that would have made it too easy.
Yeah, so I don't know where he is. I guess, like you said, it's a little too easy, but
yeah, Pete's gotta be the hero.
Right, and I bet Artie understands that.
Yeah, he's got a headbutt the head pumpkin eater.
It is a really good headbutt. They point that out in the commentary as well, but it really is like
it's solid. It's solid.
That's another thing that we don't see too much of these days.
What,
like
headbutts?
Headbutting is a real 90s thing too.
Headbutting as a fighting tactic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the heyday of the headbutt. 1994.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's the episode.
Yeah. Did it bring up stuff for you from, because I talked about how it was like very much my experience of Goosey Night. I'm just going to say Goosey Night as many times as I can in this podcast just to, get it out there.
I mean, that was Mischief Night for me too. I grew up
Yeah, Goosey Night.
I've mentioned on the show, like I had like two different eras of my childhood. And in one, I grew up in a very typical South Jersey, like middle class neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And in the other one, I grew up next to, in my backyard was a junkyard and I had chickens and my mom's husband was a hunter. And
you had, raccoon friends.
Yeah, literally my house was sandwiched between a junkyard and the Native American reservation across the street. Like I had a very typical childhood and then a much less so. And so this was just 100% Halloween for me for, 10 years of my life or whatever, for sure.
Yeah.
And Mischief Night. But again, having the show as a child, like I had it's so important to see yourself represented in things.
Right.
And Pete, there are aspects of my identity that it wasn't interested in representing, but there are some that it was a 1-to-1. And so I just have so much love for it for that reason. And yeah, it's the best.
That makes sense. You said you had some fun casting stuff that I am not aware of.
Yeah. So there are two good ones. One is fun for me and maybe some of our listeners. The two of the Pumpkinheads, one of them is a guy named Sam Riegel, who is a super prolific voice actor more than anything. And the thing that I got excited for is that he voices Teddy from the Persona series, which is a video game, Jody. So I know you don't care, but it's like maybe the best RPG like of all time, if you ask me in particular.
Okay. I will believe you because I have no other information.
And Teddy is one of my favorite characters from that video game. He's literally like a big mascot teddy bear. But so that was exciting for me. But the thing that I think is exciting for our show is that Endless Mike is played by Rick Gomez, who is one of those people who has just stayed working.
Yeah. This much I know, but I don't know anything beyond that.
Most recently, he's Patrick Kennedy from Silo.
Wait.
Patrick Kennedy is
my God. Wait.
the scrappy older guy with the big beard.
Huh? Wait. Wait.
He's like a main character. He's in like 5 episodes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. You'll know him.
Rick Gomez.
But he is, again, one of those people who is in several things a year. He's just always acting.
He's also that guy.
He's also in...
He was born in Bayonne.
He's a Jersey guy?
Yeah, he was born in Bayonne and raised in South Plainfield.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
Wait, what is... Hold on. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is Clerks with a period TV movie?
Huh?
Oh my God. Wow. This is huge.
Is it?
Whoa. Yeah. I mean, it is and it isn't. Apparently, in 1995, a pilot was shot. It's called Clerks with a period. And it is a pilot for a TV series based on the movie Clerks that Kevin Smith had no involvement in.
What?
And it, weirdly stars Andrew Lowry as Dante Hicks and Jim Brewer as Randall.
Whoa. This is one of those, sliding doors alternate universe things where I'm like, is this the Bernstein Bears?
Yeah, because how have I never in all of my research... Also, Kerry Russell and Rick Gomez is one of the leads. It's... I understand why Kevin Smith doesn't talk about it, because apparently he had nothing to do with it. But
he's listed as one of the writers.
Well, I think they have to because it's based on his original...
On his?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is filmed during the production of Mallrats. Smith had no involvement in this attempt at a series. But how...
I knew about the animated one.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
How have I never come across this in all of my Kevin? Again, not from him not talking about it, but just from doing the
Yeah. Live action unaired pilot based on the cult movie of the same name.
Isn't that wild?
Huh.
So that's fascinating. Anyway, Rick Gomez was apparently one of the stars of it.
Huh. But more importantly, he's from Bayonne and went to North Plainfield High School.
I don't know why I'm shocked that he's a Jersey guy. All of these actors are from Jersey. I was reversing. I was excited that somebody from Silo is from Jersey, forgetting that the reason we're even looking at him is because he was in Pete and Pete, and all of the kids were from Jersey.
I would not put it past us to have had this discussion when we talked about Silo, and both of us have completely forgotten.
Well, we didn't cover it, so we wouldn't have been looking for Jersey connections.
Didn't we talk about Silo?
Oh,
we talked about the pilot.
Wait.
See?
Wow.
You don't even remember that we talked about it.
That's
Watch,
right.
we go back and there's like a whole section on how Rick Gomez is from Bayonne. I would not be even a little bit surprised.
And also, I'm really excited because he's Endless Mike from Pete and Pete, and have also forgotten that.
Exactly.
It's so possible.
I guarantee that probably happened.
Well, so either way, that's all very exciting.
Okay, cool. Wait, it's available on YouTube? What is most noticeable about this pilot at first is that it's pretty bad. The punchlines aren't all that funny. The location doesn't feel as real as Quick Stop, and it comes across like any generic 90s sitcom with nothing really special going for it.
Kevin Smith is so particular and specific, even in that first movie where he's still figuring himself out. And as we know, that he doesn't even consider it a Kevin Smith movie, really.
Wait, this information is important, I think. So this is from Collider. It says, not only was the pilot being pushed forward without any of their involvement, no one even knew about it until an agent slipped up. According to Brian O'Halloran, he found out during a meeting with a new agent who asked him if he was going to audition for the pilot. He ended up calling Smith shortly after to ask if he was involved, which is how the rest of the Clerks crew found out. The very idea of it. Can you
imagine?
It keeps going. The very idea of a TV show piqued Smith's interest, and he wanted to join as a producer and writer, but the script he wrote was rejected. This led he and his producer partner / future podcast co-host Scott Mosier to leave the project. O'Halloran and Anderson both auditioned for the show, but were rejected. It seemed like it was a mandate that the show could not share any significant ties with the original film other than the character names and the brand name. Wild.
It's also like, because they're bad actors, they would never get cast on a sitcom, but that's part of it. Part of it is that the actors are bad.
Also, it says that because while Disney now owned Clerks, the characters of Jay and Silent Bob have always been owned by Kevin Smith exclusively, which is why they can appear in any of his projects, regardless of the movie studio, but couldn't appear necessarily in this show. It says Silent Bob never appeared in the pilot, but a version of Jay did. A version of. So Jay was recast as Bodie Elfman and portrayed as a burnout. But due to Smith pointing out that he owns the character of Jay, the Jay on the show was renamed Ray.
Ray and Silent Bill.
The episode has him trying to shoplift from Dante's store and is given none of the charm and magnetic personality that Jason Mewes always gives the role.
Of course not, because how can you? Where is he? Where is this fucking... This is fascinating.
It is. The producer and writer of the pilot was Richard Day, a veteran of sitcoms. He's worked on and written for Dinosaurs, Mad About You, and Arrested Development. Dinosaurs, your favorite. It also says the biggest gain from the show was the realization that Clerks could totally work as a TV show. So just a few years later, Smith teamed up for David Mandel to create the animated series. And Mandel is creative force most known for being the showrunner of Veep.
Oh, interesting.
I know. We're learning so much tonight.
So if we're done with Pete and Pete and with Halloween, I have a bone to pick with you, Jody.
Oh no, what did I do?
Here I am on TikTok, and I have to tell you something about me and TikTok is that I have an account.
Why am I weirdly scared right now?
I don't follow anyone. I don't like anything. So my algorithm is...
It still knows what you sit on.
But, that's the thing. And it's like...
Yeah.
It's a lot of it being like, is this what you want? Is this what you want to see?
Yeah.
And then the second I watch one thing for more than 4 seconds, that's all I get.
Right.
So I keep getting shown these videos of Brian Jordan Alvarez, who I really like. I'm a big fan, have been a big fan of his. But he's dancing to a song that has gone viral on TikTok over and over again. And then I notice in the comments and stuff, people being like, fine, I'll stream English Teacher, fine. And him, responding to that. And so I'm like, what is English Teacher? And so I Google English Teacher. and it's a show where Brian Alvarez, who I am a fan of, listeners, if you don't know, if you're not familiar with English Teacher the way I wasn't as well, you'll know him as the sitting is the opposite of standing. Sitting is the opposite of running around.
Yes.
He's also the creator and star of The Gay and Wondrous Life of Caleb Gallo, which is where one of the internet's favorite quotes, sometimes things that are expensive are worse, comes from. He's great. He's fantastic. I did not know he had a show. You know who else is in this show?
Who?
Veronica Mars' dad.
Yes. I didn't know that.
You know who
You
else?
can't blame me. Well, I didn't know that.
Hold on. You know who else is in this show? Yeah, Carmen Christopher from The Bear.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Jody.
Yes. Why is this my fault?
Well, because I'll tell you why. Because I texted you to say, how about this show, The English Teacher, that I somehow have no knowledge of, despite Brian Jordan Alvarez, who I am a fan of, Carmen Christopher, who I am a fan of, Enrico Colantoni, who makes me cry just to look at his face. What is going on? How can the internet be so inside your brain and also fuck up so bad that it took Brian Jordan Alvarez dancing to this dumb song on TikTok 50 to 60 times before this was brought to my attention? You said, they covered that on a Ringer podcast.
Yes.
Did they not mention all of those things?
No. That's why I'm saying you cannot be mad at me. I knew they interviewed Brian Jordan Alvarez. I don't know that we have ever discussed this person.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
They, as far as I know, did not mention, in my recollection, your dear Veronica Mars's dad, nor did they mention Carmen Christopher. So all I know is that there is a show called The English Teacher that the guys from The Watch really liked, and that Brian Jordan Alvarez was in charge of it. Okay. So you cannot be mad at me.
Well.
You cannot be mad at me.
Well, I mean, maybe a little bit. I only watched the first, 2 episodes. I thought it was...
Sorry, I was just dancing to Sit Against the Opposite of Standing and not listening to you. Go ahead.
I love Sitting is the Opposite of Standing.
It's so good. Please play a clip of it in this episode.
I will put it right here.
Sitting is the opposite of standing. Sitting is the opposite of running around. And sitting is a wonderful thing to do because you sitting. Sitting is the opposite of standing on your head. Sitting is the opposite of hanging from a barber. Sitting is a wonderful thing to do. I got one thing to say. I think that sitting is something that people say it is bad. But you know that sitting is actually good because you deserve to relax. It's kind of like a nap. It's kind of like something else. But it is actually just sitting. Sitting is the opposite of standing. And sitting is the opposite of running around. But you deserve to sit.
I only watched the first 2 episodes. I thought it was really sweet. I thought it was really funny. It felt really real. It's funny that you just did that, because at one point, Evan is Brian Jordan Alvarez's character's name. He's talking to his ex-boyfriend at a restaurant, and he's talking like this, and then he gets distracted by something, and he goes, "Oh, I love this song," because there's music playing, and then goes right back to the conversation. It's as if if he sneezed and it wasn't hinting at death. It was just such a regular, it feels really real. Just the way that people talk to each other feels really real. He's gay, and that's a big part of it, but not in a way where sometimes he's the butt of his gayness is the butt of a joke, but in a way that feels really real and not
not tragic.
Yeah, it's. I was really pleased with the 2 episodes that I saw. Yeah. And you said they like it on...
So Andy and Chris, my good friends, Andy Greenwald and Chris Ryan on The Ringer, who are from Philly, and
I was going to say...
talk about it about as much as we talk about Jersey, which is maybe why I have always connected with them. They liked it a lot. They were very, very positive on it. It made me briefly consider watching it, but I don't think I knew. Well, I definitely didn't know that all of those people were in it, and I didn't really know anything else that Brian Alvarez has done other than Sitting as the Opposite of Standing, which is genius, but not a television show.
Yeah.
But
The
yeah,
Wondrous Life of Caleb Gallo is a YouTube series.
I've heard of that. I don't
yeah.
think I knew that Brian Jordan Alvarez was involved, and I also have never seen it.
I don't know that watching that now would make you more inclined to watch English Teacher, but I would say it's worth checking out.
Yeah, I mean, also, I am a big fan of Abbott Elementary, and I just my brain was like, I don't need two teacher shows.
Right. All right. I get that.
You know, like I love my Philadelphia Quinta Brunson, like, you know.
I still haven't watched it. I know I need to.
It's so good.
I really, unless we're covering it, I generally don't watch anything. I know I say that a lot, and it also breaks my heart to say it because I do love movies and TV so much. I just don't have time. But I put it on while I was doing dishes or something and ended up watching 2 episodes. So
Abbott Elementary shouldn't work for me because it is sort of in the mockumentary style of The Office, and I am so done with that.
I don't think I knew that.
But it works really well for some reason. It doesn't bother me at all. And the people in that show are so fucking charming. I mean, Lisa...
everybody says that about Philly. It's so charming.
That's definitely what they say.
I live here. I'm allowed to say that.
Oh my God. How did I forget her name already? Wait. I can't get this wrong.
Okay.
Lisa Ann Walter from Parent Trap. Lisa Ann Walter.
I've never seen it.
I haven't either. I just assumed you had. Yeah. Parent Trap. She is she's from Maryland, but she sounds like the most Philly person you've ever heard, like in a real way. Because it's so close.
It's so close. So
yeah. But it's Lisa Ann Walter. It is Quinta Brunson, Tyler James Williams, Shirley Ralph, Janelle James. It's just such an amazing cast. No, Quinta Brunson doesn't need me to be like, the show is great, but it's really great.
Okay. I'll give it a whirl. I mean, I'm going to eventually. And I know I'm going to love it. Like,
yeah. It's so good.
But now English Teacher is another thing, too, where I'll watch 2 episodes and probably forget about it for 100 years. But I did really like it.
Good. Maybe I'll check it out at some point.
I've not gone back to Dr. Odyssey. However, a podcast I really like, Sawbones, which is hosted by one of the McElroy brothers and his wife, Sydney, who is a doctor. And they cover just different, like, medical...
Yeah.
Like, it's often, like, weird medical, like, trends or, like, historic medical practices, like, all kinds of stuff. But because she's a doctor and it's a show about a doctor, they'll sometimes cover like pop culture stuff. And I love her so much. She's my age, and queer, and I just love her. But she was like, it's in a genre of television I call pacey shows. So this is another one of my pacey shows.
That's fair. Do we want to do a quick Dawson's Corner before we sign off for the evening? Because it's getting towards my bedtime. So I am currently... So you interrupted me watching an episode to record this podcast.
How dare I?
I know. I am on season 6, episode, I want to say 6. It's the Halloween episode. Where Dawson is working on a haunted set. And Dawson and Joey have had yet another annoying breakup right before this.
I told you last week, they are despicable.
Yeah.
The 2 of them in this season.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's just, they need to never speak to each other ever again.
And the way they both managed to be so annoying.
Yeah. And like dumb as rocks. There is a bartender that Joey is flirting with that looks like he's 28. She's supposed to be a sophomore in college.
Kate Hudson's brother, by the way, in real life, Oliver Hudson.
But yeah, they're annoying. I would like them to stop. It seems like Pacey and Audrey are finally going to break up. which I'm relieved by because as much as I like them each on their own, I'm tired of them together. They obviously are not supposed to be together. It's really like clear.
Yeah, I don't think they make a ton of sense.
Also, the fact that Pacey is now in the movie Wall Street is a little weird.
It's so funny.
It's so strange. Such a weird turn.
I love Wall Street Pacey.
He went from working on boats to being a somehow very accomplished chef to a stock trader. Like,
well, he's kind of aimless, like, you know.
Yes,
Pacey's
but
got a lot of potential.
No one is good at all of those things.
Pacey Witter is. Jody.
I'm sorry. Those are very distinct skill sets that do not overlap.
A Renaissance man.
Okay. What else? They don't seem to know what to do with Jack, and so he is now paired with yet another older teacher. I'm really getting worried about all these teachers. I mean, I've been worried since the first episode. But so good Lord, there's a lot of teachers that
they do it again. Because Joey gets one in college. You've already dealt with that, right?
Yeah, fucking Ken Marino.
That's right.
But like, it just keeps happening. It's like so normal. There's so many teachers sleeping with students.
That's what I said. Like, everybody gets a turn at having an inappropriate relationship with one of their teachers.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know what it is that makes them do that, and then Joey has that antagonistic professor who I hate.
Oh, he's like a dick.
So mean. There's
no reason.
Professors can be shitty in real life. None of them are that invested. I promise there is no professor invested enough in the lives of their students to make them that miserable on purpose.
No, we've got other shit to do.
It's true. Like,
yeah. No, that guy sucks.
Yeah, he really sucks.
So I don't know where we're going. It's gotten weird, but.
Oh, this is the episode you met his daughter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm halfway through because you interrupted me to record this podcast.
Again, so sorry. My apologies.
We went from a Halloween episode of Pete and Pete and somehow again ended up, well, not somehow, I brought it up at Dawson's Creek.
How could we possibly be talking about Dawson's Creek? What the?
It's crazy. It's weird. Yeah.
I love a little visit to Creek Corner.
Yeah.
I like that you're in the middle of their last Halloween episode too.
Yeah, it's perfect
Isn't
timing.
That funny?
Yeah, it's perfect timing. There's a haunted stage set in this one.
I also like in that episode, it's right in the beginning, but Dawson mentions he's like, I'm like known for these big elaborate pranks back home because there's one prank episode.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
So I was going to figure out how to pretend like we aren't recording this from the future, but I want to be very honest with our listeners about what we're about to watch. So instead, I think we should just tell them hi, hello.
Hi, hello. They can probably hear the COVID in my voice anyway.
Also that.
Yeah. So we took a minute to decide what documentary we wanted to watch this week, or next week, excuse me, because we were waiting to find out about something else, which we found out about, which we can't say yet. We'll say next week. But all that to say, this coming week, we are going to be watching a documentary about a New York City institution. If any of you are North Jersey or classic move to New York after high school or after college folks, you will remember Kim's Video, Mondo Kim, all the different Kim's Video locations around the city. This is a very weird documentary about what happened after that store closed.
Yeah, it's definitely weird, Jody. I'm excited for folks to watch it. I'm excited to talk with folks about it. I can't wait to hear what other people think.
Yeah, me too. Especially folks who, like me, remember actually going into Mondo Kim's, not as a renter because I didn't live in that part of the city, but I definitely went in there a few times just to poke my head around because it was like on St. Mark's and it seemed like, you know.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, we have already watched this and we're still recommending it.
Yeah, with that tone in my voice.
There's going to be so much to talk about this week.
I know.
I'm so glad I watched this documentary.
Yeah, me too. It was interesting.
And I like that we're doing a little run of docs for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I love a documentary. I can't believe we haven't done any before.
I really was like, do we just pivot? Are we just a documentary podcast from now on?
I know. There's a bunch of good ones that we haven't talked about.
Yeah, I've heard great things about Will and Harper. I haven't seen it yet. there's a lot of...
Somebody recently mentioned Action Park to me. I guess there's like a podcast clip going around where they talk about the loop slide.
Oh, okay.
And one of my friends sent it to me and was like, you probably know about this. I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
I am well versed. I went to Action Park. I did not, because I'm not an idiot, go in that thing. I think it was probably closed by the time I actually started going there because it's a death trap. But
yeah.
But I did definitely injure myself mildly at Action Park. So lots of good docs out there. And yeah, after next week, we have a very exciting surprise that we will not spoil right now, but we'll talk about it next week. So excited.
It's a suicide rap. I've been waiting. You said it's a death trap. I've been waiting this whole time to be able to say it's a suicide rap.
Okay.
We gotta get out while we're young.
Oh, God.
Quick recommendation.
Yeah, we are not having Bruce Springsteen on our podcast. Don't get that excited.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine?
No. My heart just started racing. There is a Bruce documentary that we won't watch because it's a road doc.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's what this podcast is for. But I think tonight I might cozy up with a little mug of hot cocoa and watch the Bruce doc.
There you go.
I have a quick recommendation. Over on New Jersey's The World on Monday, just 2 days ago, Carrie and I released our penultimate installment of our official and unofficial book club. And we talked with the author Courtney Price. Her book, Welcome Home, Caroline Klein, is set in New Jersey. It is so New Jersey, but it is also a story about a woman returning home to deal with her family. She's playing softball on her dad's softball league. She's taking his place. It's queer. She's really cool. All of her friends are queer. There's a really great love interest. He's a boy, but it's okay. Bisexual women are allowed to date men.
Yeah.
That's half the point.
That's the whole thing.
Part of the point.
Yeah.
I loved it. I genuinely loved it. It was breezy, but also really thoughtful. I had a great time. I read it in 2 sittings. And Courtney is a delight. The whole time I was talking with her with Carrie, I was like, oh, Jody would love her too. The listeners would, listeners, if you're looking for a fun read, I highly recommend Welcome Home, Caroline Klein by Courtney Price.
Yeah.
And go check out the interview. It's not spoilery at all. She was great. You guys will love her.
I'm psyched to read it. Give me some something to do while I'm home and miserable.
Oh, Jody.
It's fine. It's fine. Get your vaccines, people.
He's dealing with an injury himself, her dad in the book, so.
Nice. Okay.
Do you have any recommendations before we hit the road?
I don't think so at the moment. I have just been
watching Dawson's Creek.
Still.
What am I gonna do when you're done?
I know. It's crazy. I'm middle of season 6.
We'll get you started on Battlestar Galactica next.
Oh, good Lord. Anyway, where can they find us?
WatchersPodNJ. WatchersPodNJ at Gmail. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Jody_Mim, JODIE_MIM.
And I'm at AQ Andrew EQ.
And we will see you next week in the village.
Hell yeah.
Or Sicily.
Picture
or both. Picture it. Sicily. Maybe I'll start watching The Golden Girls. Maybe that'll be my next thing.
A great idea, actually.
That is so cozy. Okay, anyway. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Do you remember Empty Nest?